Profit is brought to you by StopToShop.com, and they've got some of the best prices on the internet for the new emerging power set. Now's the perfect time to stock up on playable cards like Gothitelle, Pokemon Catcher, Tornadus, or even the new Pokemon Trading Card Game Online code cards. Click on the link in the description to check out the set. When you do, you'll get a 10% discount on your full order at checkout. When you're looking for cards, make the stop. It's Stop to Shop.
Hey everybody, it's JWittz here from the Pokemon Trading Card Game Show Profit, and welcome to Part 2 for the Rantoul, Illinois Battle Road 2011 Finals between Lucas Selig, who took Game 1 with Cinccino Kingdra, and Jose Graham playing his Blastoise for Alligator deck. Lucas took Game 1 by just dealing a lot of quick damage and taking advantage of Jose not having any water energy, not having a very quick setup, and things kind of fell apart for him right away. So, between the two, over the course of today, because Jose won one game in Swiss against Lucas, and Lucas has won this one game in Top Cunt, they are both 1-1. They're both shuffling up, hopefully going to avoid the countless mulligans that happened in Game 1. So at this point, things really do favor Lucas. He's playing a lot faster deck. It functions on 1 energy attacks, can get set up really quickly. Jose's deck takes a little bit of time to set up. So because Lucas has already taken Game 1, Game 2 inevitably could go a little bit longer if Jose even is going to win with his slower deck. And then, moving to Game 3 after that, you're probably not going to have time to play a full game. Lucas is going to get to go first because you get to choose after you lose, and that's going to favor his fast deck a lot. Now, it looks like I tried recentering the camera, but it doesn't really look like it changed too much. In fact, it almost looks more slanted now, but whatever. You can still see the full field a lot better than some of my match videos, and everything still seems fine. If anything, maybe we'll get to see a little bit more Jose's hand than we could see last time. So Jose flips over, Squirtle, Manaphy, and Jose is going first. So, yeah, we can see a little bit of his hand now. I see for Alligator Prime. Plays Charon, draw 3 cards. Looks like he hit a rare candy, which could be good at that for Alligator if he has any way to get the Totodile down. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like he has it. He attaches to Squirtle and passes. Lucas is up once again, double colorless right away. We got access to Cinccino and his supporter. So now he's got a debate. Do I evolve or... Yep, and he decides to wait. Instead of playing Professor Oak's new theory to shuffle in a new hand, he decides, well, I can evolve next turn, get that guaranteed Pokemon out, drop that other double colorless energy, maybe abuse Catcher, and then play Professor Oak's new theory for a full new hand of 6. Jose plays his Pokegear, hoping to get any kind of useful supporter, grabs Professor Oak's new theory. And at this point, Jose's definitely in trouble. The problem with his deck is you need to get 2 Stage 2 Pokemon out, and you don't have any internal draw like Magnezone Prime. So you need to play cards like Pokegear to get all the supporters that you can, but even then, you can't always guarantee having both the Totodile down and the Squirtle down, and then rare candies and Stage 2 Pokemon to get set up quick enough. So things went pretty smoothly for him in Swiss, but in the long run you can have some bad games and some pretty bad beats if you're playing a faster deck that sets up pretty quickly. So he decides to grab Professor Oak's new theory and play it. And at this point, hoping desperately to get multiple Totodiles out, at least hope that you can get a Feraligatr out on the next turn as quickly as possible. If not, things are going to be pretty troublesome for him. He's pretty reliant on getting that Pokemon power out, Rain Dance, so he can attach all the water energy that he wants to water Pokemon. And without it, he's stuck manually attaching like he is now to Wartortle. Looking at his hand, it looks like he doesn't have any access to basic Pokemon again, which means no for Alligator. He's debating whether or not to attack with Wartortle. I'm going to be completely honest, I have no idea what Wartortle's first attack is. Looking at it, I think for 1 energy, it's a Snipe 20 attack. Water Arrow is maybe... Okay, that is what it is, so lucky guess by me, but that's what he decides to do, just drop some damage on the field. Now, while Damien does have a catcher, I definitely don't know if I agree with this, because if he didn't have catcher, he'd at least have to play it to pull up that 1 Wartortle. Now, putting Wartortle active, he doesn't even have to do that. He just has to bench a couple of basic Pokemon, and then he's got the knockout right there, do the wave. But he did have the catcher, so I guess in hindsight doesn't really matter. Looking at his hand, he only got 1 more basic, so he can only deal a maximum of 40 damage. So now at this point, yeah, he could either catch her up and knock out that Manaphy, or get damage on the Wartortle. Decides to go for damage on the Wartortle. Jose draws a switch. Not super helpful, but it could at least switch to Manaphy, let him build something else up. He finally gets that Pokemon Collector that he's really needed for the first 2 turns now, and he can get a couple of Totodiles in play. And he grabs a Squirtle. Totodile. And I can't tell if he got a Clef or not off of them. Now, I don't know what's prized for Jose, but in his situation, I definitely would have gotten 2 Totodiles and the Cleffa. Because at this point, Damien can deal a good amount of damage. He's going to just keep on being able to pick things off with a catcher. And unless Jose prized all the rest of his Totodiles, if that 1 Totodile goes out due to a catcher, he's going to be out of Water Energy Acceleration again. So he's kind of bringing himself into the same problem that he got into last game, where he's stuck without being able to get multiple for Alligators out, and his whole bench is full. So he's going to have to keep on being forced to put down 1 Totodile at a time. So he had a Cleffa, switches to it, and then retreats to the Manaphy. I don't know if he just really liked his hand, maybe he has the candy for Alligator at this point and just wanted to put up something that can either get knocked out or have free retreat, but as we see, catcher up onto the Totodile. A lot of energy and Juniper. So Damien missed a couple of basics last time, but off of Professor Juniper, full 7-card hand, he's got what it takes to knock out the Totodile. All he needed was 1 more basic, and I thought I saw Minchino, another Cinchino too, and he had Pokemon Communication if he needed any more basics after that. So at this point, Jose's almost just lost the game here, just by the fact that Lucas's deck set up so fast, and now he can't even get the for Alligator out to give him the Water Energy Acceleration. He can still knock out one of his Cinchinos with Blastoise with the 3rd energy, and there's the rare candy Blastoise. Chances are pretty high he had for Alligator Prime in his hand. But here he doesn't even have the energy, so he's eking with Cleffa. So definitely confusing me there too. Probably should have just eked with Cleffa on his last turn instead of retreating to the Manaphy, because at this point he doesn't have any energy acceleration. Lots of free prizes are starting to show up on his board with the Manaphy and Cleffa, and Damien's field keeps on developing with more Cinchinos, double colorless energies, and eventually Kingdra's going to start showing up too. Collector means that he's going to be able to start hitting for his maximum of 100 damage with Cinchino, and things are pretty much going to go downhill from here. So he grabs 2 Horsies and Cleffa. Chances are pretty high he's just going to bench the 2 Horsies. Oh, plays Communication, puts the Cleffa back in. Probably going for Kingdra, and there it is. He Spray Splashes onto the Blastoise. Junk Arms. Discards 2 cards to play the Catcher to bring up the Blastoise. And do the wave for 80 for the knockout. I guess he just didn't want to bench the 2 Horsey, or he had to discard one of his Horseys with a Junk Arm. But either way, after the Spray Splash, he still has knockout on the 2 Energy Blastoise. At this point, the game's pretty much lost. He drops 1 Totodile here, but as I said, it can just easily be catchered up and knocked out for a low amount of damage, which is why you have to bench multiple copies of your Stage 1, or your basic Pokemon for a Stage 2 deck. That way, if one of them gets knocked out with its low HP, you can at least evolve the second one that you were able to get. But at this point in a deck that so crucially needs those multiple Stage 2 Pokemon out, it really does hurt you a lot. Also looks like he didn't get very much off of that Eek. He's got a Juniper in his hand, decides to Eek again, and grabs 6 more new cards. And at this point, Cleffa stays asleep, but after filling up his entire bench, Lucas can draw 6 cards, likely hit a Catcher or a way to get Catcher, and get around the Cleffa for another knockout. Worst case scenario, if he can't, he can at least get a few Spray Splashes on board and get closer to one of those free prizes that the deck is so good at taking. So I see Rare Candy Kingdra, which means 2 Kingdras in play. 20 damage a turn, decides to put 1 on Cleffa, 1 on Blastoise. So Jose draws, flips for Cleffa, Awake. At this point, the only way for Jose to even make this game competitive is if those 6 cards he got off the Eek gave him access into a Feraligatr. Drops Squirtle, evolves to Wartortle, and at this point he's in that same problem that he was. He's got the Totodile down. If he can't evolve it now, it's just as open as ever to a Catcher, and he'll only be able to replace it by benching another basic down. So he plays Pokegear, looks at the top 7, can take a supporter if he finds one. At this point his deck's getting pretty thin, so it's not out of the question for him to eventually hit a Rare Candy and Feraligatr, but as the game goes on, it looks like he's hitting less and less useful supporters to work things out. Decides to go for the Charon, which is decent. It lets you draw 3 cards off the top of your deck, which is good for adding cards to your hand, but at this point, something like a Juniper Professor Oak's New Theory would probably help him out a little bit more. So at this point, Lucas has already taken 2 prizes, I think. It's hard to see with his black sleeves. He's already taken multiple prizes. Cleffa is 2 Spray Splashes away from a prize. Manaphy's 3 Spray Splashes away from a prize. Jose's got 1 energy in play. No Feraligatr still. 2 energy in play, but even then, at this point, without Feraligatr, you can't continually recycle water energy to attack over and over again with Blastoise, and that is basically your whole heart of the deck. So when you play a slower deck like this, it's definitely a lot harder. I myself have a lot of trouble. I play a deck that relies a lot on a Stage 2 Pokemon, which is Magnezone, and these fast Stage 1 variants, or in Lucas's case, Stage 1 and Stage 2 variants that work on just 1 energy attacks, can really hurt you. If you can't get multiple basics down, they can bring up your own lone Magnemite, knock it out after they've pulled it up with the Catcher, and that can just really hurt you. At this point, he's basically just grabbing at straws. He just catchers up the Cinccino, hopes that he doesn't have an energy to retreat. He's Awake, off of the sleep flip. He plays a Juniper, so he's got a pretty good chance of grabbing a catcher if he wants to knock out something specific. He can Spray Splash Cleffa twice for a prize whenever he wants, which he does right now. So Cleffa's gone. Jose now drawing the 6 cards, even though Cleffa's in the discard. Most players will do that. They'll start their turn while the other player is drawing their Eek cards just to not waste any time. Well, it's technically against the rules. I play that way too, so might be a little confusing to you guys, but that's just what players usually do. He retreats and gets the knockout with Do the Wave and Cinccino. So Lucas has it looks like 2 prizes left, so he probably did have 4 when I said he had 4 left. Jose has that safe Totodile at this point, but yeah, nothing is working well. I don't really know why Jose puts up the Squirtle at this point, because if he wants to do anything, he can at least bring up Blastoise. Oh, it's a 4 energy attack, not a 3 energy attack. My bad. So yeah, getting for Alligator really crucial in this deck. Your attack is 4 energies, and that relies on you being able to attach as many as you can during your turn. Regardless, I probably still would have put Blastoise up just because at this point, if you can't get knockouts, you're going to be so far behind. But Jose is just doing what he can do, playing things out, doing whatever he can in his first top cut to at least play through the game as far as he can. So, draws his new hand to 6, maybe, for Alligator. Croconaw. So after all these turns, still having trouble. He's played a lot of draw supporters, about 1 each turn. Usually a Charon, Professor Noak's New Theory, or a Professor Juniper, but that's the problem when you have a deck that relies on a lot of energy and a lot of Stage 2 Pokemon, is when you don't have internal draw, you're at the mercy of your supporters. Now in Swiss, he drew really well on his supporters, and he ended up doing great. He went 4-0, but in Top Cut here, you can see he's had some pretty bad draws. He had one where he couldn't draw a single water energy, and another one where, you know, he's just constantly missing the rare candy for Alligator that he needs to even stay in the game. Lucas also relies on supporters for his deck, but he relies on getting 1 Stage 1 Pokemon out and 1 Stage 2, so a little bit easier to set up for him, and because he can keep on doing this, you know, medium to high amount of damage each turn for just 1 energy, it's definitely hurting Jose. So Jose finally has the for Alligator. And it's kind of a lost cause at this point, but if he can get 1 Hydro Launcher off, at least, that is 1 over the course of these games. So he does Communication, grabs a Croconaw. He has no Totodile down, so at this point, he's probably just trying to thin his deck. Maybe there's no other relevant Pokemon in his deck. It does look pretty thin. But at this point, Lucas has the game. Jose's just probably trying to get a water so he can do 1 Hydro Launcher to end things up. So he plays Juniper, discards the Croconaw, yep, just thinning his deck. And it's pretty much impossible that he doesn't hit a water energy at this point. His hand looks like it's almost entirely energy. Attaches a Rescue energy. Rain Dances, yeah, 3 waters onto the benched Blastoise. And at this point, it's so late in the game, but at least you guys can see the strategy behind the deck. Hydro Launcher, you return 2 water energy from Blastoise to your hand, and you can do 100 damage to any of your opponent's Pokemon. Now, because with Rain Dance you can attach as many water energy as you want per turn, you're just dropping those energy back down that you already had on Blastoise, which makes for a pretty good cycle, and you basically take 6 knockouts in 6 turns by dealing a constant 100 damage wherever you want. So he brings 2 water energy back up to his hand for the knockout, and I don't know if that's a miscalculation or there's a water energy below Blastoise that we can't see, but either way, he at least had the energy to do the attack if he wanted to, but that's how the deck works. At this point, Lucas plays Catcher, or I think he did at that point, to pull up the one on the bench and knock it out with 1 Spray Splash and a Do the Wave, and Lucas, after taking second place at our last local tournament, wins first place at this one, so the most accomplished player in the Champaign-Urbana area. Lucas takes his first gold Victory Cup card. So anyway, that's everything. Thanks for watching today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Got some new ideas from some decks that are definitely more interesting than the usual metagame decks that we've heard over and over again, and I hope that you guys had an entertaining Battle Road season. Thanks for watching, and tune in the future for more videos of Ask JWittz, battle videos, and full episodes of Profit. Peace!